Imagine this for a moment. Arthur and Helen, both in their late 70s, are standing on the private balcony of their cabin. The sun is a perfect orb of liquid gold, melting into a sapphire ocean. The air, thick with the scent of salt and possibility, carries the distant, cheerful sound of a steel drum band from the Lido deck. For months, this was the dream they held on to. A grand Alaskan cruise to celebrate 55 years of a life built together. The brochure promised them a world of effortless luxury, gourmet meals they didn't have to cook, breathtaking glaciers they didn't have to hike to see, and world-class entertainment just a short, carpeted walk away. It was meant to be the pinnacle of their retirement travel, a reward for a lifetime of hard work. But as the ship glides away from the Seattle port, a quiet, unbidden thought surfaces in Helen's mind. What if something goes wrong out here? Not a big, dramatic catastrophe, but one of the small, insidious things that can unravel the delicate tapestry of well-being in your later years. What if Arthur's trick knee acts up on a slippery deck? What if the rich, unfamiliar food upsets the careful balance she maintains for her digestion? What if the sheer scale of the 4,000-passenger vessel, a floating city of ceaseless activity, becomes less of a thrill and more of a source of profound exhaustion? This is the side of cruise travel that the glossy advertisements and smiling travel agents rarely, if ever, discuss. It's a reality that is particularly poignant for those over 70, 80, or beyond. While the allure of an all-in-one vacation is powerful, the truth is that for many seniors, these magnificent ships can become gilded cages, environments that subtly work against their health, their finances, and their peace of mind. Many return not rejuvenated, but depleted, overwhelmed, and sometimes filled with a deep sense of regret. This isn't a narrative born of fear, but of care and realism. It's a conversation about traveling smarter, not less. Your health, comfort, and safety are the most precious commodities you possess in your golden years. Adventure is vital, but it must be an adventure that nourishes you, rather than one that quietly saps your strength. We are about to delve into 5 surprising and critically important reasons why that dream cruise after 70 might do more harm than good, and why choosing a different path might be the most self-loving decision you can make. Stay with me, because the final point we discuss might just be the one that resonates most deeply with your own life, changing the way you think about travel forever. The perilous distance. Medical emergencies at sea. One of the most sobering realities of being on a cruise ship is the immense, unforgiving distance it places between you and comprehensive medical care. On land, we take for granted the intricate safety net that surrounds us. A sudden chest pain, a dizzy spell, a fall, help is usually just a phone call and a few minutes away. An ambulance, a fully staffed emergency room, a team of specialists, this is the infrastructure we rely on. At sea, that safety net is shredded, replaced by a far more fragile and limited system. Cruise lines are quick to advertise their onboard medical centers, painting a picture of a well-equipped clinic ready for anything. The reality, however, is often starkly different. These facilities are typically small, staffed by 1 or 2 general practitioners and a few nurses. They are designed to handle minor ailments, seasickness, a common cold, a sprained ankle, or stitching up a small cut. They are, in essence, an urgent care clinic, not a hospital. For a true medical emergency, the kind that becomes statistically more likely with each passing year after 70, like a heart attack, a stroke, or a severe respiratory infection, these centers are woefully unprepared. They lack the specialized equipment, the diagnostic tools, and the personnel to manage a life-threatening crisis effectively. Think about the golden hour, that critical window of time after a major medical event where prompt intervention can mean the difference between a full recovery and a permanent disability, or even life and death. On a cruise ship in the middle of the Caribbean or the vast Pacific, the golden hour is a fantasy. You are hours, sometimes even days, from the nearest port with a capable hospital. The ship's medical team can do their best to stabilize you, but their primary function in a serious event is to coordinate an evacuation. Let's consider the story of a gentleman named Robert, a 78-year-old retired engineer from Ohio. He and his wife booked a 10-day cruise to celebrate his recovery from a minor heart procedure a year prior. He was cleared by his cardiologist, felt strong, and was in great spirits. On the 5th day, while enjoying dinner, he felt a familiar, crushing pressure in his chest. The ship's doctor was summoned and quickly confirmed the signs of a major cardiac event. But what could they do? They administered what medication they had, but Robert needed a cardiac catheterization lab, and he needed it fast. The nearest port was 8 hours away. The only option was a medical evacuation by helicopter. The experience was terrifying. The roar of the helicopter blades, the precarious winch down to the moving ship, the frantic transfer. It was a traumatic ordeal for both Robert and his wife. He survived, but the delay in treatment left a significant portion of his heart muscle damaged. The financial aftermath was just as devastating. The airlift cost over $50,000. Their travel insurance, which they had dutifully purchased, argued that his condition was pre-existing and initially refused to cover the full amount, leading to months of stressful appeals. Robert later said, "The cruise was supposed to be a celebration of life. Instead, it nearly ended it, and the stress of the bills felt like a second heart attack." His story is not an anomaly. It's a stark illustration of a systemic risk. It's not about being unhealthy. It's about acknowledging that the human body, especially in its later decades, is unpredictable. An otherwise manageable condition can become a catastrophe when you're isolated by miles of open water. Have you or someone you know ever had a health scare while traveling? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience could be a valuable lesson for our entire community. This isn't about wrapping yourself in cotton wool and never leaving the house. It's about a clear-eyed assessment of risk versus reward. On land, you have options. You are in control. You can get to your trusted doctor, your local hospital, your pharmacy. At sea, you surrender that control to the ship's captain and a small medical team. For a 35-year-old, that's a reasonable gamble. For a 75 or 85-year-old, the stakes are profoundly higher. Peace of mind is the ultimate luxury on any vacation, and it's hard to feel peaceful when you know that a genuine safety net is 1,000 miles away. The floating petri dish, a heightened risk of infection and illness. Cruise ships, with their gleaming surfaces and promise of pristine luxury, hide a microbiological secret. They are exceptionally efficient environments for the transmission of infectious diseases. For a senior whose immune system may not be as robust as it once was, a cruise ship can quickly transform from a floating resort into a floating petri dish. After the age of 70, the body's ability to fend off viruses and bacteria naturally declines. This phenomenon, known as immunosenescence, means that an illness that a younger person might shrug off in a day or two can evolve into a serious health crisis for an older adult. Imagine thousands of people from all over the world bringing with them their unique microbiological baggage, confined to a single, enclosed space for a week or more. They share buffet lines, touching the same serving spoons. They press the same elevator buttons. They grab the same handrails along the corridors. They sit in crowded theaters, breathing the same recycled air-conditioned air. It is a perfect storm for the spread of pathogens. The most infamous cruise ship ailment is, of course, norovirus. Its reputation is well earned. This highly contagious virus causes severe gastroenteritis, leading to debilitating vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal cramps. For a healthy 40-year-old, it's a miserable 48 hours. For an 82 or 85-year-old with underlying conditions like hypertension or kidney issues, the rapid fluid loss can lead to severe dehydration, electrolyte imbalances, and even kidney failure. The ship's protocol for such outbreaks is quarantine. Instead of enjoying the sun-drenched ports of call you paid thousands for, you could be confined to your tiny, windowless inside cabin, feeling wretched and utterly alone, with meals left outside your door. It's a vacation turned into a solitary confinement of misery. But it's not just about stomach bugs. Respiratory infections, from the common cold to influenza and more serious illnesses, thrive in the close quarters of a cruise ship. I remember the story of a woman named Eleanor, an 84-year-old widow who was taken on a Caribbean cruise by her children. She was vibrant and active, a regular at her local senior center's dance classes. On the ship, she caught what she thought was a simple cold. By the time she returned home, it had settled in her chest, morphing into a severe case of pneumonia. She spent nearly 2 weeks in the hospital, and the recovery process took months, leaving her significantly weaker than before the trip. Her daughter confided that the vacation, intended as a beautiful gift, became one of the great regrets of her mother's final years.
Even seemingly minor issues can escalate. A small cut on a leg that gets infected, a urinary tract infection that takes hold. These things are easily managed at home, but can become complicated when your primary care physician is unreachable and the ship's clinic has limited diagnostic tools or a narrow formulary of antibiotics. You are relying on the hygiene practices of thousands of strangers, and unfortunately, not everyone is as diligent as you are. You can use hand sanitizer religiously, but you can't control the person who coughed into their hand before grabbing the handle to the dining room. If you're finding this information eye-opening and valuable, please let us know by commenting with the number 2 below. It helps us understand what content connects with you the most. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and turning on the notification bell. Your support allows us to continue creating content that aims to inform, protect, and empower you. Now, let's move on to the next critical point. Protecting your health in your later years isn't paranoia. It's a profound act of self-respect. It's about recognizing your vulnerabilities not as weaknesses, but as realities to be intelligently managed. Avoiding high-risk environments isn't about limiting your life, it's about preserving the quality of it. The glamour of a cruise can be tempting, but it's crucial to weigh it against the invisible health risks that come part and parcel with the experience, risks that are disproportionately shouldered by older passengers. The systemic flaw, the lack of specialized and continuous medical support. Building on the immediate danger of an emergency, there is a more subtle but equally concerning issue: the fundamental lack of specialized and continuous medical support on a cruise. When you are over 70, your health care is often not a matter of one-off visits for a sore throat. It's a carefully managed ecosystem of specialists, specific medications, and regular monitoring. A cruise ship shatters this ecosystem, leaving you adrift in more ways than one. As we discussed, the onboard clinic is a generalist's domain. But what if your health concerns are specific? If you are a diabetic and your glucose monitor malfunctions, or you have a reaction to a new food, there is no endocrinologist to consult. If you experience atrial fibrillation or other heart rhythm disturbances, there is no cardiologist to perform an EKG and interpret it with the full context of your medical history. If you have a neurological symptom, there is no neurologist. The ship's doctor can make a judgment call, but they are operating without the deep, specialized knowledge that your own medical team possesses. They don't know you, your history, or the nuances of your condition. This gap becomes particularly dangerous when it comes to medication. For many seniors, daily medication is the bedrock of their stability. Missing even a single dose of a blood thinner, an anti-seizure medication, or insulin can have immediate and serious consequences. What happens if you accidentally leave a bottle of pills at home? Or if your luggage containing a medication is lost by the airline? On land, this is a stressful but solvable problem. At sea, it can become a crisis. The ship's pharmacy, or dispensary, is extremely limited. They will not carry the specific brand or dosage of the dozens of medications that thousands of passengers might need. Getting a new prescription filled in a foreign port can be a bureaucratic nightmare, involving language barriers, different drug regulations, and the need to find a local doctor to even write the prescription.
Consider a traveler, let's call him Frank, a 76-year-old managing type 2 diabetes with a sophisticated insulin pump. On day 3 of his cruise, the pump malfunctions. It's a highly specific piece of medical technology. The ship's clinic has no idea how to fix it, nor do they have a replacement. They have standard insulin and syringes, but Frank hasn't used that method in years and is unsure of the conversion and dosage. He tries to call his endocrinologist back in the States, but the ship's satellite internet is spotty and exorbitantly expensive. He spends the next 2 days in a state of high anxiety, manually checking his blood sugar every hour. His vacation completely overshadowed by the fear of a hyperglycemic or hypoglycemic event. The dream trip has become a stressful, round-the-clock medical management drill. Furthermore, let's talk about the fine print of that travel insurance policy again. Many policies have clauses related to pre-existing conditions. They might cover an unexpected accident, like a fall, but if your emergency is deemed a complication of a condition you already had, like diabetes, heart disease, or COPD, you may find your claim denied. They might argue you were not stable enough to travel, even if your own doctor cleared you. This leaves you facing not only a health crisis, but a potential financial catastrophe, with medical evacuation and foreign hospital bills that can easily climb into the 6 figures. For a retiree on a fixed income, this is a life-altering burden. As we age, our need for reliable, expert medical care increases, not decreases. A vacation should not require you to gamble with that necessity. The financial quicksand, hidden costs, and predatory traps. The cruise industry has mastered the art of the enticingly low sticker price. That 7-day Caribbean getaway from $699 advertisement is designed to hook you. It conjures images of an affordable, all-inclusive paradise. But for many retirees, particularly those on a fixed income, this initial price is merely the entry fee into a complex and often costly ecosystem designed to separate you from your money at every turn. Once you step on board, you enter a cashless society where your room key card becomes a magic wand for spending, and it's frighteningly easy to lose track until the final shocking bill is slipped under your door on the last night. Let's dissect the anatomy of these hidden costs. That all-inclusive fare rarely includes everything. Mandatory daily gratuities for the crew are often automatically added to your bill, sometimes amounting to hundreds of dollars per couple. Beverages, apart from basic water and juice at the buffet, are extra. A glass of wine with dinner, a soda by the pool, a specialty coffee in the morning, it all adds up.
Shore excursions, the very reason many people take a cruise, can be astronomically expensive when booked through the ship, often double the price of what local operators charge. But the cruise lines play on the fear of the unknown, convincing passengers that their sanctioned tours are the only safe option.
Then there is the tiered experience. You are constantly reminded of what you're missing out on if you don't spend more. The main dining room is fine, but for an extra $40 per person, you can experience the exclusive Italian bistro or the premium steakhouse. The free deck chairs are crowded, but for a daily fee, you can access a quiet, private sun deck. Wi-Fi, which we consider a basic utility on land, is sold in tiered, expensive packages that barely work. It's a business model built on upselling and creating a sense of inadequacy if you stick to the basics. I recall a story from a woman named Margaret, 74, who took a cruise with her husband David. They were careful budgeters, having saved for 2 years for the trip. "We felt a constant pressure," she said. "The staff were wonderful, but they were always trying to sell you something: a spa treatment, a professional photo package, a ticket to the bingo game with the big jackpot. We saw other couples our age going to the fancy restaurants, and you start to feel a bit cheap for saying no. We gave in a few times, and by the end, our onboard spending was almost as much as the original cruise fare. It put a real damper on our memories and set our savings back." It's not just about add-ons, it's also about the potential for outright scams or predatory practices. Onboard art auctions can pressure people into buying overpriced prints with dubious claims of investment value. Port day shopping seminars often direct passengers to specific stores that give the cruise line a kickback, whether or not they offer the best value. For seniors who may be less cynical or more trusting, it's easy to be caught off guard in this high-pressure environment. This financial drain isn't just a matter of numbers, it's an emotional one. The stress of watching every dollar, the guilt of overspending, or the feeling of being nickel and dimed can erode the very sense of relaxation a vacation is supposed to provide. If you're finding this breakdown of hidden costs helpful, please comment with the number 4 below. Your feedback is so important. And please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to support our work. Let's continue to the final and perhaps most overlooked reason. You have worked your entire life to build a nest egg that provides security and peace. A vacation should not be an exercise in fending off financial traps. It should be a respite from worry, not a source of it. Before you're lured in by that low headline price, it's essential to look at the total potential cost, not just the ticket, but the financial and emotional toll of navigating a system designed to maximize its profits at your expense. The rhythm wrecker: disrupted routines and profound exhaustion. This final point may seem less dramatic than a medical emergency or a financial trap, but its impact on your well-being can be just as profound. For many people, especially as they get older, daily routines are not just habits, they are the scaffolding that supports physical health and mental balance. A cruise vacation, by its very nature, takes a sledgehammer to that scaffolding, and the consequences can linger long after you've disembarked. Think about the rhythm of your life at home. You likely wake and sleep around the same time, a pattern that regulates your body's internal clock, or circadian rhythm. You eat meals that are familiar to your digestive system at predictable intervals. You have your moments of quiet, whether it's reading the morning paper, tending to your garden, or watching the evening news. You control your environment's level of stimulation. This predictability is not boring, it is grounding. It's what allows your body and mind to function optimally. Now, place yourself on a cruise ship. That entire rhythm is thrown into chaos. Meal times are dictated by the ship's schedule, with fixed seating times that may be much earlier or later than you're used to. The food, while plentiful, is often rich, salty, and prepared for a mass palate, which can be a shock to a system accustomed to simpler, home-cooked fare. For those managing conditions like diabetes, acid reflux, or food sensitivities, navigating a buffet can be a minefield of potential problems. Then there is the issue of sleep, the cornerstone of good health. Cruise ship cabins are notoriously compact. Even with a balcony, the interior space is often smaller than a typical bedroom. The walls can be thin, allowing you to hear neighbors, people walking in the hallway, or the distant thumping bass from a nightclub. There is the constant low-frequency hum and vibration of the ship's engines, a subtle but persistent disturbance. Add to this the disruption of changing time zones on some itineraries and the jarringly early start times for many shore excursions, and a full, restorative night's sleep becomes an elusive luxury. 1 or 2 bad nights are manageable. A week of interrupted, poor-quality sleep can leave you feeling foggy, irritable, and physically run down, compromising your immune system precisely when you're in an environment with a higher risk of infection. A retired teacher I knew, a man named George, 79, returned from a week-long cruise feeling, in his words, completely out of sorts for a month. It wasn't that he didn't have a good time in the conventional sense, but the constant stimulation, the loud announcements, the crowded decks, the pressure to participate in activities, the lack of any real quiet had left him utterly drained. It was a performance, he said. You feel like you have to be on all the time. I came home more tired than when I left. It took me weeks to get my sleep schedule and my energy back. A relaxing vacation it was not. This experience of post-vacation exhaustion is incredibly common among seniors who choose cruise travel. The very things that are meant to be exciting, the endless activities, the new destinations each day, the social whirl, can become a source of overwhelming sensory and mental fatigue. A vacation should be a time to recharge your batteries, not to have them drained by a relentless, externally imposed schedule. Before you book that trip, be honest with yourself about the kind of environment in which you truly thrive. Is it one of constant motion and stimulation, or one of peace, predictability, and genuine rest? The answer to that question might be the most important travel advice you ever receive.
Even seemingly minor issues can escalate. A small cut on a leg that gets infected, a urinary tract infection that takes hold. These things are easily managed at home, but can become complicated when your primary care physician is unreachable and the ship's clinic has limited diagnostic tools or a narrow formulary of antibiotics. You are relying on the hygiene practices of thousands of strangers, and unfortunately, not everyone is as diligent as you are. You can use hand sanitizer religiously, but you can't control the person who coughed into their hand before grabbing the handle to the dining room. If you're finding this information eye-opening and valuable, please let us know by commenting with the number 2 below. It helps us understand what content connects with you the most. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and turning on the notification bell. Your support allows us to continue creating content that aims to inform, protect, and empower you. Now, let's move on to the next critical point. Protecting your health in your later years isn't paranoia. It's a profound act of self-respect. It's about recognizing your vulnerabilities not as weaknesses, but as realities to be intelligently managed. Avoiding high-risk environments isn't about limiting your life, it's about preserving the quality of it. The glamour of a cruise can be tempting, but it's crucial to weigh it against the invisible health risks that come part and parcel with the experience, risks that are disproportionately shouldered by older passengers. The systemic flaw, the lack of specialized and continuous medical support. Building on the immediate danger of an emergency, there is a more subtle but equally concerning issue: the fundamental lack of specialized and continuous medical support on a cruise. When you are over 70, your health care is often not a matter of one-off visits for a sore throat. It's a carefully managed ecosystem of specialists, specific medications, and regular monitoring. A cruise ship shatters this ecosystem, leaving you adrift in more ways than one. As we discussed, the onboard clinic is a generalist's domain. But what if your health concerns are specific? If you are a diabetic and your glucose monitor malfunctions, or you have a reaction to a new food, there is no endocrinologist to consult. If you experience atrial fibrillation or other heart rhythm disturbances, there is no cardiologist to perform an EKG and interpret it with the full context of your medical history. If you have a neurological symptom, there is no neurologist. The ship's doctor can make a judgment call, but they are operating without the deep, specialized knowledge that your own medical team possesses. They don't know you, your history, or the nuances of your condition. This gap becomes particularly dangerous when it comes to medication. For many seniors, daily medication is the bedrock of their stability. Missing even a single dose of a blood thinner, an anti-seizure medication, or insulin can have immediate and serious consequences. What happens if you accidentally leave a bottle of pills at home? Or if your luggage containing a medication is lost by the airline? On land, this is a stressful but solvable problem. At sea, it can become a crisis. The ship's pharmacy, or dispensary, is extremely limited. They will not carry the specific brand or dosage of the dozens of medications that thousands of passengers might need. Getting a new prescription filled in a foreign port can be a bureaucratic nightmare, involving language barriers, different drug regulations, and the need to find a local doctor to even write the prescription.